So here we go, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Meet the Oppo, the series where I get the lowdown on Town's next opponent, which of course is on a away trip to Bristol Rovers on Valentine's night. I'm joined by Lucy Ford, one of the co-founders of the Her Game 2 group, Bristol Rovers fan, of course. Lucy, thanks for joining me. How are things?
Thanks for having me on. Things in the Rovers life are not amazing at the moment. It's not been the best couple of months for us, but yeah, so I'm not looking forward to tomorrow as much as I usually would. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, looking back at results, the last month or so have not been great. At one stage, you were like eighth in the league, and I thought, oh, could be a possible playoff push here for Bristol Rovers, but it's been not a great run of form in recently. How would you recap that? What's been going on?
Um, it's really tricky to say. I think if we go back to just before Christmas, we had two really good results. We beat Port Vale at home and Charlton away, and we hadn't won at Charlton since like 1958.
Wow.
And we it's which is like crazy that never beaten Charlton at the Valley since before then. But since then we've just taken a bit of a nosedive in form. Now it could be, it feels like a couple of different things. Jordan Rossiter, who plays in midfield alongside Sam Finley, got injured, and it's one of those things where he really went under the radar. You didn't really see what he did, but now he's not there. You really, really notice it. We're lacking a lot of bite in midfield. At the moment, it just feels like just our whole midfield's lacking. It just feels like we're going from like back to front with nothing through the middle. And our centre forwards, who have, they've been doing really well and working their socks off, are kind of feeling off scraps. Coupled with, just like silly little defensive mistakes. I mean, we've had that in us from the start of the season. I do think that's partially due to stepping up a level. But yeah, it's been quite difficult the last kind of month or so. I think we beat Cheltenham on New Year's Day at home, but that was the last time we'd won. And since then we've not performed at the standards that, the manager and the kind of fans expect. And yeah, it's been a bit tricky. But I'm hoping that something will turn this rot around. Obviously we've had January, we did recruit. I'd argue that was probably not more that we needed. I know the manager probably did want more, but yeah, it's one of those things where January is always going to be a bit difficult because we did ship a few people out that weren't playing. But typical, isn't it, that you ship someone out and then they're Alfie Kilgore, who's gone to Mansfield now, has scored like twice in the last couple of games, and as a centre back you're like how has that happened? But it's one of those things. And yeah, it's just we've also kind of had this kind of thing where we brought in a new goalkeeper to challenge Belshaw, which is completely understandable. But then he has to play the first 3 games as part of his own contract, which is something that I'd never heard of before. And it's hard when Belshaw has been so consistent. Yes, he has made a couple of mistakes this year, but yeah, I mean, he hasn't played since Balcom has come in, but I would expect him to start tomorrow.
Yeah, let's talk about the current mood then with Joe Barton and everybody. One of the big results, one of the big defeats in part of that running straight defeats is of course a 5-1 defeat at Morecambe, which is I'm sure a long day from Bristol Rovers fans. What is the current mood then with fans and just Joe Barton as a whole?
I think it's frustration. I think I don't think any of us can put our finger on what's happened, to be honest, which is a weird situation to be in. It's just, yeah, it's like all the good work and all the hard work that we put in. We were playing some really good football at times. We played some teams, such as like Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday, and put in some really, really good performances. And I've always said that, why we weren't going to be up there was because we lack consistency, because we lose to these lower teams. But since then, we haven't put in a performance like, the Plymouths, the Sheffield Wednesdays. And we're lacking in that. When we've played well is when we've been solid in defence. Even though in those games, yes, we did concede, but our defence were really, really solid. And I think that's what we're lacking. It feels like there's a lack of like a spine and a leadership, and people that have been playing well aren't playing so well this season. And yeah, and I think obviously, injuries happen, suspensions happen, and I think the manager is getting really frustrated with the officials. And part of me does get that because, decisions can go against you. The loft one on Saturday, for example, it was up the other end, so we couldn't see it. Obviously, I've seen it back. I can see why people would say it's not. But then obviously he's put things out on social media of an off the ball incident where one of our players gets completely smashed to the floor. And I was like, well, if you can suspend one of our players has got suspended. Sam Finley, for example, has been suspended for an off the ball incident that we didn't see against MK Dons a couple of weeks ago. Then that consistency got to come in, but it's the way that I would want to see things is not to plaster all over social media. But yeah, I think Barton's always going to be someone that is going to divide opinion, and he still does. That's just the nature of who he is. But yeah, I'm just hoping that a good result can kind of a scrappy 1-0 win somewhere, hopefully in the next couple of games, because we've got 2 home games this week, can really just reignite the season again and just get us on good form, just to to see out the rest of the season. Because I know that we're not going to be challenging up there, but for me, I want to see those better performances. I want to see us putting 100% in every week. And just to be able to enjoy the next 3 months of the season, consistently playing better in League One and being a solid League One team.
Indeed, yeah, you can get a scrappy win on Saturday, not Tuesday night against us, please. Thank you very much. But 14th in League One is probably a decent position to be at with a team just getting promoted from winning promotion on the final day in League Two last season. So it's probably a decent position to be at the moment. You happy with that at the moment, or I'm sure the goal was this year just to stay up, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, your first thing is, making sure you stay up. I mean, ideally for me, I kind of wanted to finish around mid-table, hopefully in the top half. I think there's no reason why not, but like I said, we just need to turn around this form. But, every team has a different form, and that's normal, and it's just how you manage that. We have got a really, really young defence at the moment. We've got, some new people that have come in that, need to embed quickly. And when you're on a losing run, it's very hard to get out of that. But that's down to the manager and the players and the coaching staff and what they do at training to to get it right, ready for Tuesday and obviously Saturday as well.
Indeed, and let's talk about the players then. Let's talk firstly Grant Ward, a former Town player. He had a fantastic Town debut. He scored a hat-trick on his Town debut, but after that, didn't hit the heights of that hat-trick. Had injuries and co, and of course he left, and he's gone on to play for a few different clubs. How's he been? He signed in January. He played a few games, I see. I think he made his debut in that game against Morecambe, so not a great debut for him in that 5-1 defeat. But how's he been so far, and is he likely to play against us on Tuesday night?
I definitely think he will, because obviously Finley's suspended at the moment. I guess at the moment we do kind of need a little bit more experience in midfield. So having someone like Grant Ward, who has played in the Championship, hopefully will help us. But obviously since he's come in, we haven't won any games. Obviously that is not just down to him. But yeah, obviously I didn't know too much about him. So kind of learning a little bit more about him has been good. I do think he's kind of like he's a solid central midfielder. He's different to Finlay in terms of like the tough tackling and Rossiter. But again, he's kind of filling that gap because Rossiter's injured at the moment. So it kind of makes sense why he's playing. And yeah, we've kind of, like I said, we've really kind of been lacking a spine in the team. I think because we've got, injury suspensions. And yeah, it's kind of what we had that was so good last year with the spine of the team has just kind of been lacking a little bit. And I'm just hoping that to have an experienced head when we don't have many in the team, like someone like Grant Ward will hopefully, support some of the younger lads and, help us pull through. And obviously, yeah, he's only come in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, it's probably not been the best time to come in when, when you're not doing well. But that's kind of what kind of makes a player, because that's the ones that you need to, even if you are, you've not played for us for very long, those are the what you want those players to actually be playing for the shirt and actually helping the others and supporting them through it too.
Definitely. Well, let's bring up the last 11 against Lincoln. Of course, Loft is looking likely he'll miss the game. Of course, Aaron Collins is the man who's scoring the goals for you. There was always that rumour, will he leave in January? But he's still there, 14 goals, 10 assists. Who else you want to sort of earmark in terms of players to look out for this weekend, or on Tuesday night, sorry?
I definitely will go for Josh Coburn as well. I think that him and Collins have been an absolute dream pairing to watch this season. Coburn's only just turned 20. Obviously on loan from Middlesbrough. An absolute star in the making. I don't know how we managed to get him in on loan, and the fact that we managed to keep him as well. Just until the end of the season, because he'll go back to Middlesbrough and have an amazing career. It's really great to see it. And it's been really nice because last year Collins didn't really have a front man to play alongside. And I always remember, people saying, this is Collins on his own. Wait until he plays with someone else. And he's not just been scoring, he's been assisting. Obviously on Saturday as well, he was captain. And even though, yes, we didn't win, for someone who's only, 24, that must have been, a real honour for him to, lead the side out. And, Collins is absolutely loved and adored by Rovers fans. He's had a great season. It's great having, two brilliant attackers, but it's hard at the moment because obviously we have been let down by defensive mistakes. But, you've got you attack as a team, but you defend as a team as well. And I think at times we haven't been doing that.
Yeah, and I want to quickly mention another player who's not on this list, but Scott Sinclair, who's a player that has been around the blocks, played in the Premier League, played for Celtic. Is he going to likely feature? I know he's a player that town fans will know of.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Lost suspension is still, doesn't get upheld. I expect Sinclair to come in for Loft. I've really liked him actually this season. I think when he came in, I wasn't sure. Obviously, he'd been at like Preston and Celtic and and other places. But he's been really, really impressive. He's he offers that little bit more experience that we don't have. He's still got really, really, really fancy feet as well. And yeah, he's scored some great goals, and he's been working really well with the front line of Collins and Coburn as well.
Okay, then we shall wait and see on Tuesday night. Let's talk about the game then as a whole, Lucy. What can we expect from a Joey Barton home side? It was a 2-0 win for Town at Portman Road in September. You had 2 players sent off. Of course, that was right at the end of the game. But yeah, what can we expect travelling to Bristol Rovers?
Well, if we have any more players sent off, we're not going to have much of a team by Saturday. So I really hope that doesn't happen. It's hard to say because obviously at the moment we're not playing well, but when we are playing better, we like to attack, we like to play, free flowing football from the back. But we have played that at times, when we played Plymouth back in, I think it was October time, they were top of the league. They went 2-0 up from 2 pretty outstanding goals, but it was such a good game of football. It was really open, expansive game of football. We were playing football, they were playing football, and we drew 2-2, and we could have almost won that game. And I remember coming away from it thinking, we can take it to the top of the table games, and we do seem to up it when we've been playing these best teams. Obviously, I know we didn't win it Portman Road in September, and we didn't really start well this season. And it's a shame that we're playing you again whilst we're not in great form. But yeah, like that we have got those performances in us. And I'm really, really hoping that, because it was a weird one on Saturday, because the first half we didn't play very well. Again, it was a silly defensive mistake that led to the goal. But the second half, even with 10 men, we played better. Sinclair came on, Harry Anderson came on, and we looked brighter. We did create some chances. Their goalkeeper made a really good save from an Evans free kick. And yeah, obviously it was better. Obviously, it was still frustrating, and it was another defeat, another game we hadn't scored. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird one at the moment. I honestly don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I wish I had a magic crystal ball, it's going to tell me that it's going to be all fine and we're going to finally turn the corner. But, I'm not going to pretend and make any illusions that tomorrow won't be a really tough game because, Ipswich are up there. They've been flying all season. Like we said before, we went live, yourselves, Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday have been three of the out and out most consistent teams in the whole league. And it's going to be a shame for someone to miss out on automatic promotion because you three teams have been really, really good. But we've also got points against two of those teams, just not yourselves. So I'm hoping we can rectify that tomorrow. But yeah, I'm hoping that we do step up our game. We do put a performance in. And even if we lose, I want to see the performances that we were putting in earlier in the season, in October, November, early December time when we were playing better. And take that performance into Saturday when we're playing Barton. You really want to be picking up those points at home.
Yeah, definitely against them sort of sides down there fighting for their lives. But yeah, Tuesday night under lights at Bristol Rovers. Any tips for away fans? I'm sure there'll be a few town fans who are going having their first trip down to Bristol Rovers. So any tips, any away pubs they can go to, anything about the ground that they can know about?
Yeah, I mean, I think tomorrow. I know, like I said, I'm not looking forward to it in the fact that we haven't been playing well, but I am looking forward to it because I know that Ipswich Town fans travel really well. Under the lights is always a really good atmosphere. And yeah, I mean, in terms of pubs, Wellington's probably the best bet. It's kind of about a 5-minute walk from the ground towards the top of the hill. Obviously there's Gloucester Road as well, which has full of great pubs. Sportsman, Anchor, which is a Hurricane 2 pub, as well. I mean, there's loads. Gloucester Road is amazing. It's a shame you're not playing on Saturday because it is a wonderful, wonderful place to go. Yeah, I think the clubhouse is just for home fans only. So yeah, your best bet is to go to, like I said, either Wellington or Sportsman, and hopefully the weather will be okay tomorrow. If not, if you're in the terrace, bring a coat, because there is no roof. Only in the tented stand where where there are seats is a roof. So yeah, layer up. It would probably be my best advice for tomorrow.
Yeah, fingers crossed it is dry. To be fair, we've been lucky as of late. It's been nice and dry, but southwest, anything can happen weather-wise, I'm sure. So we'll look forward to that. But Lucy, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining me. But any other business, any other notes you want to mention ahead of the game? Prediction, what are we going for?
I always will err on the side of optimism. So I would snap your hands off if we get a 1-1 draw tomorrow. But I probably expect a 2-0 defeat. But you never know. You never know with football. Anyone can have an off day, anyone can have a good day, and anyone could beat anyone in this league. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We'll bring it on. Wow, I'm looking forward to my first ever trip down to Bristol Rovers. So looking forward to that. But Lucy, thanks for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching. If you go into the game, enjoy it. If you're not, follow the game with us. Bye for now.